this is that you couldn't hear me. And so now hopefully you can hear me because we're testing the tubes. Hello, hello, audio. Okay, audio's back. There we go. I had the wrong setting. This is why we test the tubes. All right, hopefully it's corrected. We're back in business. My apologies, my friends. It's a beautiful day. We now have the tubes corrected. As you can see, we're on the road, so sometimes we have a little technical difficulties because your boy doesn't know how to adjust the settings. But it's working. It's a beautiful day. We've got business to attend to. We're talking about the Trump assassination attempt. A lot to unpack today. And so let's get right to it. Let me share with you what is on the docket. Trump was attacked. An assassination attempt took place. And a lot of the conversation now has been whether or not this was intentional. And so today we're going to talk about different levels of culpability and how it works in the law, the legal system. We talk a lot about things and criminal activity that was done intentionally, or activity that was done recklessly, or stuff that was completed negligently. So we're going to talk about those different standards of culpability, and then we're going to ask ourselves what an expert like Representative Corey Mills thinks about this, because of course he was a sniper for the U.S. Army, and he is leaning towards intentional in terms of the mental state for culpability. And so we'll go through all of that. Got a bunch of clips that we'll unpack. Then I want to turn our attention to this idea that there may have been a second gunman. You have heard some of these clips from people saying that there was an individual over by the water tower, or a water tower shooter, and some pretty credible people are now theorizing that there may be a lot more to this story. And so I want to go through some of the different theories that are out there. Yes, of course, we could have had a lone shooter, a single shooter with the identity that has been given to us, and that's the end of the story. It was an aberration. It was a mistake. There was an accident here. There was no negligence or criminal liability at all. Or there could be a whole lot more to this story, and we are just scratching the surface. So we're going to talk about the second gunman theory and some other opinions from some other very qualified people who are out there discussing it. And then I want to see what Congress is doing. As you can imagine, a lot of reaction from the White House, from the Secret Service. I've got a clip from Kimberly Cheatle, the director of the Secret Service, as well as some clips from the White House. Homeland Security, Mayorkss came out and spoke about this, as did Karine Jean-Pierre. And they're all standing by Kimberly Cheatle, who was with the Secret Service. And there was just a whole slew of failures that we have now seen. Things like they waited 30 minutes before they took action. Somebody spotted this guy 30 minutes before. They were actually housed in the building where the shooter was. He was on top of the roof. They were inside the building, like just twiddling their thumbs. And so failure after failure continues to emerge. And we ask ourselves, if we're compounding each one of these failures, does that lead to maybe an idea of intentionality? In other words, someone wanted this whole thing to go down badly. And so as you can see, we've got a lot to get to today. And so I want to jump right into it and start talking about the different levels of culpability, criminal culpability. Should anybody be charged with a crime as a result of the Trump assassination attempt? Of course, the person who did the shooting is dead, so we can't charge him with a crime. But was there anybody else involved? Was this something where maybe the Secret Service or the people who were responsible for the security on the day of the shooting, whether they should be held responsible or whether they were complicit or maybe even intentional in this entire catastrophe? And so we're going to talk about that and hear from Representative Corey Mills, who is a U.S. sniper, and hear what he says about all of this. But these are the different levels that we're going to parse through here today and see which category you think maybe the Secret Service or maybe the people responsible for security on this day would fall into. We're going to talk about intentional conduct, reckless conduct, criminal negligence, no negligence, and various different components to how all this works, legally speaking. But before we get into this, I wanted to share this interesting animation that was recreated from the interwebs. You can see on this post, which was shared over from Jedi Hill, which is an individual building the new Atlantis, which sounds awesome. He posted this. He says, "This is we the people solving the crime so it can't end up buried like the JFK assassination. We must remove the traitors from within the federal government." Of course, Trump victory will be a good effort in that, a good notch in that effort. But this is the recreation, the AI rendering of what took place the day of the shooting. You can see they have what looks like a spiderweb framework over Trump's face, and then they recreate the backside of his head. Watch how close this was. It's actually surreal when you see it rendered this way. And we've...
Take a look what happened.
Right there, that last second, it was a miracle that he did not get hit. Right there, you can see that head pivot. Boom. Clipped his ear. And he just barely avoided a bullet in the brain. So it was an absolute miracle that that happened. But we ask ourselves, how did this get so close? How did the president, former president and the current leading presidential candidate for the Republicans, get so close to having his head blown off? We ask ourselves, was this just an accident, or was there something much greater at play here? And so I want to go through the different levels of criminal culpability that we often talk about in the law, right? And there's a lot of gray area in between each of these, but for general strokes, we're talking about the least serious, no criminal responsibility, nobody's in trouble at all. This was just a pure accident at the bottom, and we're talking about an intentional, directed assassination operation at the top. Let's talk about how we can parse through all these to see where maybe our Secret Service or our intelligence agencies fall. So down here at the bottom, we see, let's give the government the absolute benefit of the doubt, right? They say there's no negligence at all. This was something that was not foreseeable, right? We can't anticipate that something like this might happen. And so if that's the case, then nobody is responsible for the fact that it did happen. If you can't predict that it's coming, if you can't foresee this is called foreseeability in the law, then how can you possibly be responsible for something that nobody could even predict? So was that the case here? Obviously not, right? The Secret Service, the law enforcement agencies, they exist specifically to prevent this type of harm, to prevent Trump from being shot in the head. And they failed catastrophically. So the idea that this was just an accident, right? The analogy that I think we can come up with is nobody was really thinking that they were going to fly planes into buildings back on 9/11. Then they flew planes into buildings. Now we all think, well, are they going to fly planes into buildings again? Because it was not foreseeable at the time. Now it has become foreseeable. Shooting a presidential candidate in the head from a far off location, absolutely foreseeable. That is not something that was, whoa, my gosh, I can't believe they're on a rooftop over there, right? This has happened before already. We had Kennedy with his brains blown out, maybe by the CIA then. But the problem is they are supposed to be prepared for this, and so we can write this off categorically. It wasn't negligence or an absence of negligence. It wasn't an accident. There was a lot more culpability here behind what we saw. So then we go up to the next level. Then we talk about this concept called criminal negligence. And so it's a lot more serious because somebody did something wrong here. If it's an accident, nobody did anything wrong. Oops, Trump got shot. Oh, well, let's move on with our business. We're not there. So the next level we would talk about would be something like criminal negligence. We're going to skip all the civil stuff and just go right into criminal negligence. Could we charge somebody with a crime based on some sort of criminal negligence statutes? And again, we're talking about broad strokes because this is a national, live stream that we do here, and we're not zooming in any particular area, but let's just talk about this in broad strokes. Criminal negligence. What if the police and the Secret Service, and I think this absolutely fits, should have been aware of the risk, okay, as they should have, right? We don't want presidential candidates being shot, but they were not aware of the risk, and so they were negligent, right? The standard might be something like this. A reasonable officer or Secret Service agent would have known to secure this roof, and they failed to do so, right? They failed to act reasonably. So they should have known better, but they didn't take action, or they didn't know better. So they were just poorly trained. So this is kind of like an incompetence standard. So could we suspect that the Secret Service and these local law enforcement officials were also incompetent? They were negligent in the securing of the location. Sure, I think that also would fit, just by virtue of the fact that there's a dead person and Trump got shot, as did other people. So somebody was negligent because the bad thing happened, and somebody else who's a reasonable Secret Service agent would have secured the roof. That didn't happen. So that standard is at minimum, I think, hit. So we'll ask ourselves, who's going to be prosecuted as a result of this misconduct? Now, when we go beyond that, that's just incompetence. That's like nobody's really acting intentionally badly or moving towards intentionally badly. So the next standard up, and I want to parse through this one from this other intentional category, but let's say that the Secret Service and the police, they knew that there was a risk. They say, okay, look, we probably should have somebody on that roof, but we are not going to put them on the roof because there's a slope on the roof. So they knew of the risk, but they actively disregarded that risk. Okay, that's a reckless thing to do. So we're going to disambiguate this between intentional and recklessness. So for example, now a shooter under the recklessness standard is somebody criminally liable for the misconduct here. A shooter could have taken position and then shot, and that risk was disregarded, right? But there was no actual knowledge of the shooter. So I know we're sort of saying the same thing many times. But they know of a possibility that somebody could be shot or that there could be a shooter up there doing a shooting, but they didn't know of a specific threat. And they were reckless for not securing it. Now that also, I think, might apply here, right? They should have known that a shooter could have gotten on that roof and it would have had a direct line of sight to the president. They would have done basic reconnaissance and determined that. And they disregarded that risk, even if they had no knowledge of a particular shooter on the scene at the time. And now we go up. Now this is more criminal culpability. They're actually more liable as we work our way up here. The next level would be that the Secret Service and the police actually allowed, by not taking action, right? So there's some volitional action here, a shooter that they knew about to take position and fire. So they're not directing the shooter, they're not coordinating the shooter, orchestrating anything, but they know of the shooter, and they're indirectly just moving resources around to clear the field. Just don't guard that location and something can happen. You see this a lot in the spy shows, the spy TV shows, right? They capture that guy's wife and kid, and they're like, you just open the gate, that's all you have to do. Oh, no, I don't want to. We're going to kill your wife and kid. Okay, I'll open the gate. They open the gate, the guy drives the bomb through, blows up the whole building. And then that guy only did that little small thing. So is it a situation like that, right? Not knowing and coordinating the attack, but knowing that something was going to happen and not securing the location as a result of this. So that could be another intentional standard. And then we have the actual direct coordination and the authorization of the shooting, right? So this person now at the intentional direct level would want and coordinate that actual shooter. And then that could lead to maybe two shooters, false identity shooter, but there's an operation behind the scenes here. We could call that CIA, like we prognosticate with JFK. We have, and similarly, RFK. The shooter might be somebody who's an asset for whether a domestic intelligence agency or a foreign intelligence agency. And we ask ourselves, well, what's CIA? That's crazy. Why would they be assassinating our own presidential candidates? Well, they've theoretically done it before. Ask RFK Jr. his take on it, and he'll tell you, probably the CIA. And we also saw in the last election, they signed, in collusion with one another, a 51 signed intelligence letter that was false. So they are not without interfering in our elections. So in this situation, right, somebody is actively opening a window. Somebody is guiding, opening a window, and coordinating the shoot. So these are different standards that we're playing around with. We're asking ourselves, what level of culpability did the Secret Service have? Did the local police have? Is there a broader intentional conspiracy at play that's being coordinated or conducted by somebody? Who knows? But somebody who's been thinking a lot about this is Representative Corey Mills. And I wanted to play a good portion of this interview because it was quite good. And he is on here with CNN talking about this specifically. And if you're not familiar with Corey Mills, he is a representative. He is a former U.S. Army sniper, and he's got a lot of background in private intelligence and security, where they will be contracted to go in and secure the perimeter for high-value individuals. And so here is his explanation in the aftermath of all of this. He's trying to gauge where we're at on this chart. Are we intentional? Are we just reckless misconduct? Was this negligence? Was this just an accident that nobody really could foresee? Or where are we at? And based on the failure after failure after failure, which we'll talk about in the next coming up segment, he comes to the conclusion that we're more in the intentionality scale, because how can you have failure after failure after failure happen in an accident fashion? You really can't. You start asking yourself, who's behind it all? So here is Corey Mills.
I look at all of these things, and I look at different videos where an assailant will pull a firearm on a law enforcement officer, and the first thing they do is they immediately pull and draw and mitigate the threat and the risk. I ask why the local law enforcement officer did not do so. The other thing is that when you set up an advanced team, I keep hearing this about the perimeter.
And pausing on that comment real quickly, this is what we've talked about from the very beginning. The idea that the Secret Service had to wait until they were under direct threat from a shooter to draw and return fire is insane, because every single cop that I've known doesn't have to wait until they're being shot at to return fire. And we've seen it and covered many of those cases here. So why would the Secret Service have more restrictive rules of engagement when they're protecting a high-value target like the president? The president has to be shot in the head. There's really no mistaking or margin for error on that. So he's making the same point, and the Secret Service, of course, will surely clarify this for us.
Elements. Yeah. The perimeter is actually established by your threats that are in the area. So if I don't have any threats outside of 100 yards, okay, fine, I can cordon off a certain area. But if I have a building 160 yards perfectly adjacent to the stage, that's an obvious threat, especially with an elevated position that has overwatch. Mm-hmm. That's a sniper's paradise. And, we talk about Eagle's Nest. You also have, which no one talks about, but the water tower.
So what I'm hearing from you is it's not...
Yeah, the water tower. Did you hear that? So put a pin in that, because he's talking about the water tower. And when you look at the maps and you zoom out on this thing, and we're seeing more aerial photography, we're seeing more Google Earth renderings and some other high price renderings that show the trees and the blockage of the line of sight and all this stuff, we're asking ourselves, was this essentially a kill zone? Okay, was this set up in a location where there could be multiple shooters and multiple people who have a direct line of sight, and were these rooftops opened intentionally? And you heard him talk about the very difficult, right? It's like a sniper's paradise to put him in there. So why would they do that? We asked the same questions with how they drove Kennedy through Dallas.
A failure on the ground for sure, but 100%. Also a failure in advance?
I think it's a failure in advance. I think it's a failure to have the counter snipers to be able to establish their range fin and their sketch maps.
I also heard there...
Now, on this photograph, you can see that this is where the gunman was, and there is some issue. Some people are pointing out the fact that this set of snipers that's on this leftmost rooftop here are looking at the shooter's position. But if you'll notice, there's right here a tree. And so we don't know how big that tree was, or if that tree was blocking the footage, blocking the view, the line of sight of the snipers on this roof as they tried to look down on the gunman. So in other words, the reason why we saw that original sniper poke his head up was to reorient, get bearings on the target, because he was looking elsewhere further down the line. Now, simultaneously, other people are pointing out that on the opposite side, which is not being noted on a lot of these graphics, I think it's maybe being missed, but there was another counter sniper group on the opposite side. So there was this middle barn here, and then on the opposite side of the roof, there was another set of snipers, and they may have had a better direct line of sight over the gunman, and maybe they took him out. Now, we're going to come back in a little bit. We're going to ask ourselves about 3 different audios, or 3 different gunshots that were detected in the audio, 3 different types of gunshots. And we heard about 3 different patches of gunshots when we were listening to the original assassination attempt. We heard what sounded like the original gunman's pop, pop, pop. Then what we thought was maybe the snipers returning fire in a series of, I think, 5 shots, or maybe 4. And then we heard one final one at the very end. And that may have been the final kill shot that actually took out the gunman from a different sniper team. All of the shots may have come from the single gunman with one from the sniper. We really don't know yet, but we're going to come back, and apparently they're seeing that there are 3 different potential guns that were involved in this. So we'll talk about that.
We've also learned that local snipers were stationed inside that building.
I haven't heard that piece of it yet, but that doesn't necessarily make sense unless they were actually in a window which was backed off, because a lot of times you get yourself in there. Sometimes you expose your rifle in a way to try and do a force protection or a show of force that actually stops things. Others are actually more tactical, where they'll sit back a little bit, but a sniper for the law enforcement is only trained to shoot about 75 yards, unlike your counter sniper teams that are on set. But here's my problem. In having done this for so long, they always say the adage of ignorance is bliss, and I think that's true. I've done thousands of advances. I've done thousands of counter sniper operations with our teams in Iraq and Afghanistan, etc. the amount of negligence, the amount of mistakes that was made here, I have a very difficult time not leaning myself towards this was intentional as opposed to fecklessness.
But wait.
Okay. So he may or may not be a lawyer, I don't know, but he's walking us through the different standards using the layman's terms, right? Fecklessness. I have a hard time believing this was just negligence. I have a hard time believing this was an accident because there was a mistake after a mistake after a mistake after a mistake. I've done this thousands of times, he says. Okay, I was in the Army. I was doing counter sniper teams, and I know how this works. So how do you leave the most open rooftop with prime shooting target position open and everything that led to that moment seemingly failed, right? It's the same type of pattern that we see like with the Epstein case. Very strange that Epstein is suddenly dead in his cell and everything fails. Cameras fail, guards fall asleep, everything just happened to coincide. Suddenly wake up, Epstein's dead. Guy forgets to do the rounds, everything goes bad. Weird how that happens. And so the same thing happened here. Something is just askew, and it's not me saying that. It's Representative Corey Mills, former U.S. sniper.
Tell me about that. I actually heard you say this right the day after, which I wanted to ask you about. What do you mean intentional?
You know,
I mean an intentional failure on the part of...
No, I wouldn't say an intentional failure on the part of, but I gotta just, I sit here and I scratch my head. You don't want to be the conspiracist. You don't want to be the person.
I'm telling you, because that's what it's...
Yeah, I know. It's such a conspiracy. I know. It's so shocking for us to think about our own government or somebody within the government taking out Donald Trump. Yeah, I know. It's crazy. That's never happened before. Ask JFK. That's never happened before. Ask RFK. Right? Ask Martin Luther King, right? People get taken out because of their politics. And many people would always like everybody to believe it's this lone gunman theory, but there's a lot more to that story. If it was just so simple, why wouldn't they release the JFK files? Huh? Well, even Trump has commented on this because we think it would be a big problem if people knew that. So, no, in other words, knowing that our own government was responsible for it. So, yeah, we're kind of talking about, intentional. Yeah, I mean, he can't say it because he's a congressman and a nice guy. But, yeah, we'll say it right here. We'll ask ourselves, why was the failure so catastrophic? Why was this guy allowed on the roof? Here is how this continues on. Well, we don't, of course, want to be conspiracy theorists here.
Leaning toward.
No, I know. And that's the issue, is that you walk this fine balance of, you're not trying to be a conspiracist, but you look at it and you go, how could this have gone so...
But it's one thing if someone on the street says it. It's not. I mean, you, Corey Mills, member of Congress, former sniper, saying it.
Yeah.
I mean, it makes my eyebrows go up. What?
Huh?
When you say you're walking the line on this, intentional what?
You know, it almost seems to me, I think that an investigation is necessary at this point within Congress, not just the FBI, not just others. You know, I look back at it and I'm thinking, all right, for an individual, if you looked at the escalations and how they are trying to approach him, let's just say that it was like, okay, first we want to censor and silence you, then we want to indict and imprison you. Now we're attempting to kill you and take you off the stage.
Whoa. You, let's slow down.
Please.
I'm hearing two things from you. I don't want to jump ahead of things, but I'm also hearing you jumping ahead of things.
Well, actually, I'm just looking at all the different possible capabilities. You know, one of the things as a military member, one of the things, one of the
She's
things
freaking
as a
out.
person who's running the special operations committees before, one of the people who's actually done this is that you look at all potential analysis, right?
Donald
that's how
Trump
you play
and his
worst
team
case
have said,
scenarios. No, I agree.
Dial it back. Do not blame this on Joe Biden.
Oh, well, actually, I didn't say Joe Biden, to be completely.
Oh, I didn't say Joe Biden. You said Joe Biden. I never accused him of trying to take out his political opponent with an assassin. Of course, he's only tried to take out his political opponent with lawfare, civil lawsuits, and criminal lawsuits, criminal prosecutions, including one where his third DOJ associate AG, Matthew Colangelo, went out to go try to imprison Trump until the Supreme Court stepped in. So, yeah, we didn't say Joe Biden was behind this at all. You brought that up, CNN.
Who's the they then? Let's be very specific.
Well, that's what the investigation is too. Was it local law enforcement?
The deep state. We want to know who's behind it because the FBI has already set up other operations against Trump. It's already happened. It's already on record. Now, nobody's been convicted for it. Actually, one guy got convicted for some of the Russian collusion hoax. Kleinsmith never served a day in prison or jail at all. And Michael Sussman, who was responsible for concocting, in my opinion now, he was acquitted by a jury, but he was also responsible for the PP tape from the Steele dossier, which was used to create a Russian collusion fake narrative. And so, yeah, FBI was behind that. Andy McCabe, Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, the FBI lovers, we know the story. Then they also raided Trump's residence illegally. Jack Smith is not even a lawful attorney. His case got dismissed because he is unconstitutionally appointed, and he's stolen $24 million out of the Treasury, according to Judge Cannon, a federal judge in Florida. And so that whole case has been gone, but not after they raided Trump's residence, stole a bunch of his property, and then took pictures of Melania's bedroom and Barron's bedroom for no reason. There were no classified documents in there, no evidence that there were classified documents in there. This was all a political operation. Just like they took out many other families historically have been taken out by these little dictators. So this is now, I think, CNN having a rude awakening, thinking, oh my goodness, could I be the bad guy here? Could I be the person who is supporting and endorsing a political party that's now, in addition to all of those weaponized operations against Trump, now putting it in a fifth gear and trying to assassinate him too? Yeah, that's your team.
That had made the mistakes, or was there something to it? Was there other types of things that we need to be analyzing or looking at and providing analysis? My point is that when something's so significant, you're talking about something that hasn't happened in decades, right?
I totally.
But my point is this: from a perspective of someone who's actually conducted these are not difficult advances. This is not like I'm putting together a stage placement in a tight shot. This is about looking at your surroundings. What is my green, yellow, and red route, which is your routes out in case? What is my actual elements that I need to be looking at as far as mitigating threats or risks or increased levels? Where's my range fan for the sniper that says, okay, here's my 100, my 200, my sketch. Here's an area where someone could shoot. Because here's my thing.
So you're
Let's
saying,
just say it's a Royce element.
You're saying this is so basic that how big the screw up was, that's what's leading your brain down this road?
That's exactly right, in a way.
Look,
but because here's the other thing. Let's just say it's a resource.
Tom Emmer was just on with me, and he said very specifically to me, I wrote it down. He said very clearly, it is too early to be talking about who is at fault and who is responsible.
That's why an investigation is necessary.
Yeah, so he's not identifying the who. He's not pointing fingers at anybody. He's not saying the Democrats did it, or Joe Biden did it, or Antifa did it, or the Russians, Pootie Poo, did it, or anything. He's just saying we have to examine the possibilities of the mechanism by which this occurred. Because the easiest answer is that there was an opening to enable this. Because you'd have to fail multiple times over. And these people are not in that business. So she doesn't want him to get there. He's not trying to go there.
Is it not dangerous? Is it not reckless to even be throwing around the word intentional right now?
So to question things as we do an investigation is recklessness, because at that point, then should we never question anything? My point is this.
I'm not trying to be PC. My point is, in the political environment that we are in.
What would it have taken, right? Let's just say that resources was limited. Let's go with that as a reasoning. So how many times have you seen where they just put a police car inside of a parking lot with not an officer in it and just leave the lights on as a deterrent? Why couldn't that have been a simple thing that was placed in? Why couldn't we have said to the owner of the actual AGR company, hey, look, we don't want to disrupt your business, but we also want to make sure your parking lot is clear of people trying to park in there for the rally. Why don't we place an officer there? My point is that this was too easy of a solution. And when
the guy walked in with a ladder, apparently, or there was a ladder available. Somebody just set up a ladder and a welcome note, maybe a red carpet. Hey, come on up here. This is your assassin ladder, right up to the roof. Here you go. So that he walks in with a ladder and a full rifle to that building in some t-shirt, and nobody eyes this guy in a building right next door to where the president is speaking. That's his point exact. Everybody is just dumb. Oh, looking the other way. What's that, a golf bag? Maybe that guy's going to bring out some arts and crafts or something on that rooftop and do a nice painting or something. What are they doing?
I think about 160
I'm just so uncomfortable with even having
I'm uncomfortable with having to say it.
Yeah.
Trust me, my whole point is that I would like to look at this and say, where was
it's
the mistake
uncomfortable.
made? How can we correct it in the future?
She looks uncomfortable. She does not want to even think about this as a possibility that the government may, or somebody inside the government may have been behind this.
Why was this actually done? But I think that this does warrant a J13 type of commission where we can actually look at it and say, let's investigate and find out why this happened so it doesn't happen to anyone. This is not about a political thing. This is about, we had an attempt to assassinate a president. We really need to understand what a serious matter this is. And this was a milliseconds or millimeter difference between this being an attempt and this being an assassination.
Yeah, it was a miracle.
I can tell you, at 160 yards, okay, just to give you an idea, your off-the-shelf rifle shoots what they call 1 minute of angle at every 100-yard line. So at 100, it's 1 inch. 202 inches, etc. So now you're talking about 1.6-inch grouping capability of a rifle off a manufacturing line. Your average human being, because we used to do this in understanding sniper training, you're 20 inches shoulder to shoulder, 40 inches head to waist, and you're 6x8 in your average head size. These are kind of the dimensions that you look at as an average. You're talking about a 1.6-inch grouping for multiple shots on a basic rifle. We're blessed, and I do believe in divine intervention, so I am a person of faith.
Wild.
I can't explain one. I hope that it was a corrugated roof and maybe he slipped off on one of the edges of the corrugated roof or he was rushed. But the whole thing, I think, just needs to have a better explanation so that the American people and everyone can feel comfortable.
And I think that's why people are saying pump the brakes, because we've seen...
We don't want to believe it. We just want to believe it was a lone gunman. And we just want to just call it done, right? Nice little bow tie on it. I think a lot of people on this side want to call it an accident, want to call it no negligence, lone gunman. Nobody did anything wrong here. Secret Service is amazing. And U.S. Marshals are amazing. And FBI is going to investigate this, and they'll get to the bottom of it. And nobody should ask any other questions.
Conspiracy theories, honestly, on the right and the left. I just said Donio Sullivan on that it's already going like wildfire. This is the kind of political environment that they're saying it's too hot and people are jumping to too many conclusions.
Well,
that's why I am so
as a military member, one of the things that we do is we what if scenario everything in the world, right? That's how
I know, but I don't know. I'm just saying if it's the what if that you talk about maybe in an investigation and the what if that you are presenting on live television. I don't know. It's just...
Well, so listen, I'm a public official.
Yes.
Anything that I do, anything that I say in the public. I don't try and hide it in private. I think that the American people need transparency, accountability, and accessibility to the elected officials, not to try and hide behind what we want to look at. And I also think that if the American people know that we're questioning these things as well, it puts them at rest to at least know, why aren't they at least looking into this? Why? We should look at every single situation which is of this significance. We should look at it from multiple angles to ensure that nothing is left out, nothing could be potentially claimed as being covered up. Yeah. We need to have more transparency to the American people, and I think that's what everyone deserves.
But a full investigation.
Full investigation.
Before anyone
that's right.
points at fault.
That's exactly.
Yes, and in order to do a full investigation, you know what you needed to do? Is tease out the possibilities. Is it possible that somebody was complicit and coordinating and orchestrating this? Yeah, sure, it's possible. So we do need to investigate that, don't we? And in the process of determining the scope of the investigation, that needs to be on the menu of possibilities. And talking about that is not a conspiracy theory. We're allowed to ask those questions. And by the way, it's because we have historical precedent for it, right? A lot of the times we look back in history, we say, who was really behind that assassin? And a lot of people point their fingers to the CIA. So it is well within our purview to be asking those questions, and we're not alone. Many other people are asking those questions.
And that's why I say I have not made an accusation of something. I just want to make sure we're covering our bases to ensure that we get a proper investigation at all levels to ensure this doesn't happen again and that our president can be safe.
Congressman, thank you for coming in.
All right. So, rude awakening for CNN as they start to grapple with the idea that maybe there is some mal actors in our own government. And so where does it fall? As you can see, Representative Corey Mills is pontificating that maybe it's in this category. Maybe it was intentional. A shooter was allowed to take position and fire. We don't know if it was a directly coordinated attack yet, or if it was just indirect, where they kind of knew something bad would happen and they opened some windows for it, or whether there's a lot more to this story, like a second shooter. And so we're going to talk about that in this next segment right now. And so let's do that, because very interesting theory here. Some people wondering whether there is a second shooter who was there on the day that Trump was nearly assassinated. And we don't know much about the actual shooter who was allegedly solely responsible for this, but I want to tease out some possibilities for how this all went down. And so, of course, the standard narrative that we've heard thus far is that there was just a lone single shooter and that we have that person's actual identity, that we know who he is. They told us his name is Crooks, and that's the end of the story. He was not acting with anybody. He was not under a handler with the CIA or any other foreign intelligence agency, and he was just a disturbed individual. He tried to shoot Trump, got killed. That's the end of it. Now, very interesting from our perspective, because we don't know much about the guy. He's 20 years old. A lot of stories out there that he's bullied and he's been harassed at school. We saw some very strange clips from some so-called classmates who didn't even seem authentic or real to me, seemed like just some kids who wanted to talk to the media, but they're giving us this, right? And the media, I think, is going to probably try to keep it limited to this, as we just heard from the prior woman on CNN. Now, this could be real. We talked about this before, and I actually articulated the math here for us. But if we consider this concept of the law of big numbers, these things, I think, are possible, right? They do happen, and they can be lone shooters if you just think about it in terms of the math. So in the United States, we have 330 million people. And if you just say 1% of those people, so if you just think about this in your life, you know, of all the people you've met ever in your entire life, are 1% of those people a little bit off? The answer, yeah, probably, right? 1%, maybe it's more than that, maybe it's less, but just use that number, 1%. So we'll say of all 330 million people in the United States, there's a small percentage of people who are just not well. And I say crazies with all due respect, but it's 3.3 million people who would be in that number. So then if you say of those 3.3 million people, let's say of those crazy people, there's about 1% of those crazies who are actually capable of pulling a gun and getting a gun and operating a gun and coordinating what it takes to do something like this. That's still 33,000 people, right? And even if you say, okay, maybe a third of those people would actually be willing to do it, now we're still talking about 10,000 people. So the numbers are huge. And so if you just think about that, it's big numbers. And so the possibility that, yeah, it's a random aberration, or there's still 10,000, 30,000 people who might be willing to do this, especially when you have their brains pumped full of Trump's a Nazi, American democracy is ending, Liz Cheney and Rachel Maddow smashing their foreheads into the insurrection word every single night for the last 3.5 years, right? You can understand that. Some people can go unwell, and that could be it. That is a realm of possibility. That's in the realm of possibilities. And it's something that we can consider and review. Now, there's also some ideas that maybe we did have a single shooter, but we just have a bad ID on the shooter. And I think that the shooter was originally ID'd from the gun. So they traced the gun back to the father who actually purchased the gun, and they connected that to the ID of the young man. And so now we're asking ourselves about the gun serial number, and about the actual ID that's been disclosed to all of us. Some people are saying that maybe it was a single shooter, but we just have the wrong person, and that there's someone else that has a lot more background who is actually behind the shooting. Now, we don't know, obviously, so all of this is speculation, so take it with a grain of salt, but I'm going to be sharing some other research from some other people. For example, this came over from Roger Stone, and Roger Stone shared this. He said, in an inadvertently deleted tweet earlier, he says, credible sources insist that the shooter in the assassination is someone else, actually, right? It was someone named Maxwell Yeerick, and that Maxwell Yeerick was already a Trump protester who was sent to jail. And so, we're not trying to smear anybody, but this was, of course, an article about Maxwell Yeerick, who almost resembles the person who was deceased on the rooftop. And say 2 Pittsburgh men have already pleaded guilty. They've been sentenced to 12 months in Alghe County Jail. And so there's some theories like this floating around. I'm not saying that they're accurate or legitimate. I'm just saying that there are some theses that there were more than one people, or that the identities are off and that we have a misidentified person. We also have another theory that there was a water tower shooter. There was another actual shooter who was there on the scene, and we'll follow all of that up with this clip from CNN where they're explaining that audio forensics suggests that there were as many as 3 weapons that were fired at the Trump rally. 3 weapons. So was that shooter, counter sniper team 1, counter sniper team 2, which might make sense, or was it shooter 1, shooter 2, and counter sniper, or something? We don't know. And if it was a second shooter, why wasn't that second shooter taken out? And how did 2 shooters miss, if that's the case? So here is another idea, right? We heard Representative Corey Mills in the prior segment explain that there was an interesting angle at the water tower. Why wasn't the water tower talked about more? But this woman just came out. This came over from the MAGA Hulk on X, shared this one. Says a rally attendee just claimed that there were 2 shooters, one in the water tower and one by the fence. And so this was an interesting clip here from at the MAGA Hulk. And here's what she grabbed for us from this TV clipping.
Fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence. And still,
all right, one more time.
Fence where the other shooter was. There was one I heard in the water tower. There was one by the fence. And
all right, so one by the water tower, one by the fence. And she was not alone. There was also this woman who was explaining the same thing. This came clipped over from Joy Reborn. and she posted this. Says, why is no one asking about the water tower? Right here was another exchange from this woman where she's explaining that she also was looking at the water tower. So another part of the investigation that we're asking about.
Shot to the left. He killed the gentleman in the water tower here. Now, when I called my husband at home, who's watching TV, he said, I thought Trump hurt his ear when he went to the ground. But he said, no, on TV they showed before Trump hit the ground, the ear was bleeding. So that sharpshooter went across, Trump turned his head, his ear must have been nipped, and it killed somebody in the stands over to the left.
Could you see anyone injured besides the blood on the former president?
All I saw was the gentleman from Beaver County who spoke earlier in the day. He was running for the State House Representative, Elmore, I know his name. He had a white shirt on, and I saw him come from that left stands where the people were mostly shot. I think there were several. They said 3 medevacs left here. Blood was down the right side of his... He wasn't shot, but you could see that he was next to somebody who must have been bleeding profusely because he either helped them and ran, rubbed against them or tried to get them help or something. It was covered. So I knew that he was near somebody. That was my first indication that somebody was actually shot when I saw his blood on his shirt.
Erin, when did you realize that, hey, this might not be fireworks, this might be something else?
When they got Trump down on the ground. And we were just so concerned that he wasn't hit because we couldn't. It happens so fast, it's really hard to process it. I guess if you have it on your camera to see the exact minute, you can tell. But when he got up, he did not look bad at all. What I've heard coming out here is now they feel that there was 2 shooters on both sides. So they got the one on the tower on this side, but the one on the right side they never got. So that's why they wanted us to leave immediately, because they thought there's still a shooter out there somewhere. So there could be in these woods around Butler. And I feel sad for our country. I feel sad for everybody, I mean, you don't like the guy, don't vote for him. Don't kill him. We love the guy. We're going to vote for him. I mean, what is up with his violence?
Yeah.
I mean, it's just terrible.
Yeah, and they're celebrating it at Tenacious D concerts.
I just wish that people that... I'm glad that guy's no longer with us anymore in that tower. And I hope they get the other one too. And I hope they don't nick him. I hope they get him. He's down.
Get the other one too. So that woman is saying that there were at least initial reports, right? Secret Service is running around saying, hey, get out of here, right? Evacuate. There's somebody over here. Maybe they hear them. Is there over there too? Second shooter over there? They're going to go track that guy down, screaming a bunch of stuff. Who knows whether it's true or not. But man, that's an interesting exchange. So we'll see if that continues on. But we see some interesting corroboration happening. So this was what CNN was reporting for us. You can see this is from their most latest updates. From July 15th, they tell us, audio forensics suggests that as many as 3 weapons were fired at the Trump rally. So we all thought definitely 2, the shooters and the counter shooters, but were there 2 counter shooters or were there 2 shooters? Forensic analysis suggests that as many as 3 weapons were fired at the Trump rally in Butler, Pennsylvania. The FBI said on Sunday that the shooter acted alone. The first 3 shots were consistent with an alleged weapon A, and the next 5 were consistent with an alleged weapon B, so 3 from the shooter theoretically. Weapon B shot back, maybe? And the final acoustic impulse was emitted by a possible weapon C. So what was that? Oh, let me rephrase this one here. You can see this is the article I'm reading from. Forensic analysis suggests that as many as 3 weapons were fired. The first 3 shots were consistent with the alleged weapon A, the next 5 were consistent with the alleged weapon B, and the final acoustic impulse was emitted by a possible weapon C. Now that came per audio analysis from Caitlin Gregoris, the National Center for the Media Forensics at University of Colorado, Denver. And this other guy, Cole Whitecotton, Senior Professorial Research Associate. Audio analysis also confirmed that the gunman was about 360 to 393 feet from the podium, according to forensics expert Robert Maher. The conclusion aligns with CNN's analysis that the gunman was on the rooftop about 393 to 492. The shots exemplify a crack pop sequence typical when a supersonic bullet passes a microphone before the arrival of the corresponding muzzle blast sound. He teaches audio forensics. Now, the time between those markers places the shooter 110 to 120 meters from the microphone, Maher said. Assuming the bullet is moving at an average speed of 8 to 1,000 meters per second, that's the equivalent of 2,600 or 3,280 feet per second. And I don't really like how he just switched from feet to meters mid-article. I don't know why they did that, but all right, anyways. So 3 different weapons is what they hear, and we heard those 3 different groupings too. So weapon A, weapon B, and weapon C. So we have either 2 shooters or 2 counter snipers. And if we have 2 shooters, we only have 1 dead one. So we're missing a shooter. And if we have 2 counter shooters, 2 counter snipers, we need to know who that second team was. So audio forensics suggesting as many as 3 weapons were fired. And that raises a lot of questions. Now, some people are prognosticating, thinking that maybe this is not just a single shooter, that there were other shooters there or other people involved in this. In fact, Tucker Carlson, you know him, he made that very point in this interview with the Heritage Foundation.
You know, at some point we may find out what happened on Saturday. A guy with a rifle wound up on a building, you know, that close with a ladder, and all these people saw it, and the Secret Service, they're like, what is that? You know, it's not crazy to think that there was something there. It was an effort to kill Trump, and it wasn't just a lone gunman.
Yeah, so great ideas from Tucker, right, sharing his perspective that there's a lot more to this than just a lone gunman, and maybe there was some complicity there from people inside. And so this is another tweet from this fella. His name is Clay Martin. Big fan of his writing. He's written some great books out there. And he posted this on X. He says, you know, it's interesting here. Guys, I'm quite serious. If you're not familiar with him, Clay Martin is a Green Beret, 3rd Special Forces Group, Operational Detachment Alpha, Intelligence Sergeant, Instructor, all the things. He writes some good books, including one of my favorite, which is The Wrath of the Wendigo, which is a fun novel that I think you'd like. But he also posted this. He says, guys, I'm quite serious. I'm like half a step away from assuming a second shooter theory. Too much went right to get some idiot to spot 125 yards distant. Ain't no way this was the primary and only plan. And it looks like a plan. Looks like some people are even signaling other people, says this guy. And it's an interesting thesis. So the theories continue to abound. And we know that now some are saying this was maybe an Iranian plot, which will be perfect because they can't wait to use some excuse to blow up Iran. So here is what has happened now. We learned that the Secret Service, so apparently all this happened with high-intensity secret security, a Secret Service. They ramped up their security after receiving intel of an Iranian plot to assassinate Trump. And he still got shot. Now, none of this has any connection to the shooting, but U.S. authorities obtained intelligence from a human source in recent weeks on a plot by Iran to try to assassinate Trump. There's no indication that Thomas Matthew Crooks, the would-be assassin, was connected to the plot, but the existence of an intelligence threat from a hostile foreign intelligence agency, Iran, I was saying it should be Putin, right? I can't believe it's not Putin because maybe they would just nuke Putin now. Raises new questions about the security lapses at the Saturday rally. But you know, Ukraine was like way 2023. So a U.S. national security official said that the Secret Service and the Trump campaign were made aware. It says Secret Service learned of the increased threat from that threat system and directly contacted Secret Service at a senior level. In response, Secret Service surged resources and assets for the protection of former president. All of this was in advance of Saturday. So in other words, they increased security and Trump was still shot. But it wasn't the Iranians. It's like, my gosh, thank gosh the Iranians didn't actually try anything. Because if they were actually competent, maybe they would have been successful. And by the way, I don't like to dismiss this shooter, this gunman, as being incompetent. Okay, he would have hit him in the head if Trump, in that last millisecond, didn't just do that. It would have been a headshot through and through. So he was a great shot. He would have been accurate. But Trump is, it's like in the movies. They all miss, even the main character. I think Ethan Hunt, has he ever missed? I don't know. The Mission Impossible guy, right? They miss sometimes and everything goes bad. So the Trump campaign would not disclose whether it was made aware of the debt, this threat. We don't talk about this stuff, they said. Secret Service said, we warned Trump. Stop holding outdoor rallies, they said. So it's Trump's fault again. You're going to get yourself shot, Trump, which pose greater risks than events which the agency can better control access. Yeah, I know, it's Trump's fault for being outside, right? You guys can't put a team on the roof over there? The Secret Service and other agencies are constantly receiving new potential threat information, said Anthony Guglielmi. Says an agency spokesman, we can't comment on any specific threats. At one point during the cycle, the campaign stopped holding spontaneous off-the-record events with guests who weren't swept by the Secret Service. And the FBI is going to be diving into this, getting to the bottom of it. They said the investigation's ongoing, but at this time, law enforcement has reported that their investigation has not identified any ties between the shooter and any accomplice or co-conspirator or foreign or domestic. The permanent mission of the Islamic Republic of Iran denied that there was any plot to assassinate Trump. And the accusations are unsubstantiated and malicious, they said. Stop blaming us and trying to blow us up. So, all right, the Iranian plot looks like, oh, Mike Pompeo was also a target of an assassination plot, I'm sure. All right, so that is from CNN. Of course, it is the Iranians, and the second shooter thesis continues to develop. We'll see if there is any more inquiry on this. We know guys like Representative Corey Mills are hinting that maybe there was some intentionality behind this. If there wasn't a second shooter, maybe there was some willful negligence, some intentionality behind allowing the shooting to take place in the first place. And we also have Congress now with a lot of reaction. So Congress is furious with the Secret Service and Kimberly Cheatle, the director who is in charge of making sure presidents don't get shot in the head, and she's terrible at her job. We have a whole slew of failures that we've now uncovered, and a bunch of different reports are coming out, including this one. Apparently, the shooter was spotted by law enforcement 30 minutes before he started shooting. It's absolutely insane. So how can you say this is not intentional if they're letting this guy get into position and then unpack his rifle and then fire? So here this story came from this organization called 11 News, WPXI, and they were breaking this, saying alleged Trump shooter was spotted by law enforcement nearly 30 minutes before the shots were fired. Says Channel 11 News uncovered dramatic new details that in the moments leading up to the shooting. According to multiple law enforcement sources, whoever those people are, Thomas Crooks was spotted by law enforcement on a roof nearly 30 minutes before the shots were fired. That is insane. It killed a former fire chief and it injured 2 others in the crowd. It's absolutely insane, right? How is that not intentional? Channel 11's Nicole Ford confirmed that Beaver County's ESU team had 8 members at the rally, including snipers and spotters. According to Ford sources, one of them noticed a suspicious man on a roof near the rally at 5:45, called it in, and took a picture of the person. We have learned from our sources that the person in that picture is Thomas Crooks. We're told it's not clear if Crooks had a gun with him at that point. According to multiple sources, a law enforcement officer had also previously seen Crooks on the ground and called him in as a suspicious person with a picture prior to 5:45. So another cop also saw him. Our sources tell us an officer checked the grounds for Crooks at that point, but did not see him where the first picture was taken. It's like when you go look for a package, you're like, oh, I guess it's not here. Oh. So I guess the shooter's not on the roof. 26 minutes after the second picture of Crooks was taken by the law enforcement and the information was called in, shots were fired from the roof of the American Glass Research Building. Seconds later, a Secret Service sniper returned fire and killed Crooks. So 30 minutes, we've got cops who are noticing this, calling it in, and it's just allowed to happen. Someone goes, pokes his head up, nothing there. Oh, don't know what happens. And we have a dead man as a result of this, and almost a dead president, and injured people. So how is that not intentional? Somebody gets a call. They just kind of delay. You know what else they did this on? Remember when the Capitol Hill Chief of Police, Stephen Sund, tried to call Nancy Pelosi and the House Sergeant at Arms in order to get to the bottom of what was going on? And they just kept delaying, kind of like ignoring it. Stephen Sund was calling it in. Can we get some support? Can we authorize this? Can we have some National Guard here, which was already declined by Mayor Muriel Bowser? Delay. hey, we see something going on. Let me call that up to the next upper person. Let's just, ignore it. 30 minutes. 30 minutes. It's the Secret Service, my friends. It's not some giant, it is a giant bureaucracy, but they're like, you're not ordering a pizza. They're on the same radio. Call it in. There's somebody on the roof, unidentified. Get over there immediately. Scope the roof out. Like, I don't know how complicated this is, and I have no background in security, but my gosh, 30 minutes? I'll get an Uber and be over there in 30 minutes. Are you kidding? Crying out loud. Okay, so this is the story. This is gross incompetence, if not recklessness, if not intentional misconduct. I don't know how else to explain that. 30 minutes? It's like having somebody bleed out for 30 minutes. We'll get around to it. No, that's not your job. It's like you wanted it to happen, isn't it? So we also know that, as we saw in prior clips from CNN, that there were apparently a sniper team inside the building as well. Here's what BeaverCountian.com reported for us. This was an exclusive as well. So all these local news agencies are coming out with some good stuff. The other, national networks are doing their thing. But here is what we saw from BeaverCountian. Says a Beaver County police officer warned a command center of seeing a man with a rangefinder before President Trump was shot on Saturday. So the officer had warned that the man was scoping out the roof of the building that he was stationed in as a counter sniper, and that the man returned with a backpack before ultimately scaling the building. What on earth? He was stationed in as a counter sniper. He was inside the building. Now, despite all of these warnings, the officer had also warned the man was scoping out the roof. He's got a rangefinder to see how far Trump is away so he can shoot him. Despite all of those warnings, 20-year-old Thomas Matthew Crooks of Bethel Park was able to continue in his plan to become Trump's would-be assassin. BeaverCountian spoke with multiple law enforcement sources about the security provided by agencies from Beaver, Butler, and Washington counties. They claimed that there was a lack of manpower and, quote, extremely poor planning, which you might just say, well, that's just a mistake, or it's intentional. Put Trump's life in danger and kill the man. Now, while the United States Secret Service provided security within a secure perimeter of the rally, local law enforcement agencies were tasked with securing the outside areas of the outside of the magnetometers that they go through. Now, contrary to reports of several national news outlets, officers say the building just outside the security perimeter established by the Secret Service was in fact operated by law enforcement, occupied by law enforcement. So the building was occupied by the law enforcement, the guys on the roof shooting at Trump. There were counter snipers located in the building that the shooter eventually used to take shots at Trump. Snipers on the roof. Bumbling counter snipers are in the building. Not on the roof. And we're going to learn why. Now, officers spoke to BeaverCountian on condition that they not be quoted by name because the feds are breathing down their necks and they don't want to get in trouble. But a security operations plan had also been in place. And so it's to counter the three snipers, but due to a lack of manpower, the men did not have spotters assigned to them, as would be standard operating procedure. So just total incompetence. And they're telling us also now that they weren't on the roof because the roofs were sloped. Here's the story. The Secret Service director gives a bizarre reason. Hey, why were those people inside the building and they were not actually on the roof? Here is what Kimberly Cheatle had to say in response. She says, well, the roofs were just sloped. We all ask ourselves, that's weird, because these snipers, as you can see right here, they were also on sloped roofs. Nothing very surprising about that. The roof is sloped. That's where they were. So why is there a problem? Here, embattled Secret Service head Kimberly Cheatle has revealed the fateful and the bizarre reason why her agency failed to put an agent on the roof. Cheatle, who's facing calls to resign over the massive security failure, said Secret Service officials planning security considered the warehouse, but they said it would be too risky of a position to put an agent on there. Too risky because Trump might live if someone was up there. Chilling new details have revealed that a team of local police snipers were inside the building when they opened fire, shooting Trump in the ear and killing someone. Crooks managed to evade cops and the Secret Service 3 times, they report. Even though he had been deemed suspicious, he could have been on the roof for up to 30 minutes before he pulled the trigger. Witnesses also begged law enforcement to act. They saw him clamber onto the roof with his AR-style rifle. But the lapse in security meant he was able to carry out his bid to take out Trump. The mistakes that led to Trump's life almost being killed spark calls for Cheatle to step down. Congress is furious, but she's not going anywhere, apparently. She says, no, why would I leave? I have everybody who is supporting me. And here's some more news. The video, here's one video. The shooter was seen by some attendees at least 1 minute before Trump was even shot, right? Another failure point. So all these people are noticing there's a shooter on the roof.
We have some brand new video just coming in showing
the Secret
another
Service
angle
didn't or
of
couldn't
the
do anything about it. So let's
attempted
listen to this
assassination
if this
on
audio will
Donald
play.
Trump. As we're going to watch this video together, it's about a minute long. You can see the video moving around. You can also, let's listen in together. So you'll see it, and let's listen to what they say.
Yeah, look, there he is.
Because we have millions and millions of people in our country that
He's crawling up there.
dangerous people, criminals. We have criminals. We have drug dealers. We have people that should not be here.
Right on the roof.
It's much tougher than it happens.
You went right on the roof, big guy.
If he was doing the job,
Crazy.
I wouldn't be doing this. I'd get some beautiful places.
Literally, he's
Here, the way it's described is the crowd there, as you can see, spotted the gunman more than a minute before the shooting, and you can see them, hear them calling out for law enforcement to try to draw their attention to it.
Look at that very
Just
sloped roof.
remarkable
Wow.
in seeing how this played out,
Dangerous.
how close he was, some 450, 500 feet from Donald Trump, and we know what happened in the minute after that.
Yeah, he shot Trump in the head. So that is just another wild scene. Now, the Cheatle, Kimberly Cheatle, the director of the Secret Service, is not going anywhere. She says, I'm sticking around. I'm doing a great job. She got interviewed by ABC News. Here's what that sounded like when they were asking her if she's going to be held accountable for
the
this.
roof of that building just 2 minutes before he opened fire. Yeah, look, there he is. You can hear bystanders desperately trying to alert police. Authorities now using that video as part of the investigation. And tonight, ABC News has learned that heavily...
Whoa, look at those guys. They're standing on it. Holy crap. Are they like magicians or something? They must be professional gymnasts with balance beam practice or experience.
Armed local police were stationed inside that building.
Wow,
and
incredible.
Thomas crooks climbing up...
Man, that guy's even leaning over. Is he out of his mind?
Outside of the building to the roof. The same building was being used as a staging area for local police, according to 2 law enforcement officials. And Butler Township officials are confirming ABC News' reporting that a local police officer climbed up the roof and confronted Brooks moments before the shooting.
The officer grabbed hold of the edge of the building, pulled himself up to be able to look, and according to what he's told me, shooter turned, rifle was pointed at the officer.
Wow.
Officer, defensive move, kind of ducked, fell, lost his grip on the building.
Investigators tonight trying to determine whether roof access had been properly locked down. The shooter climbing seemingly unimpeded, about 400 feet from the stage, with a direct line of sight on the former president.
Take a look at what happened.
Washington lawmakers demanding answers, calling on the Secret Service director to appear before Congress. We sat down with Director Kim Cheatle today for an exclusive interview.
What was your reaction when you saw the events unfold on Saturday?
Shock, and then concern, obviously, for the former president. This is an event that should have never happened.
Who is most responsible for this happening?
What I would say is that the Secret Service is responsible for the protection of the former president.
So the buck stops with you?
The buck stops with me. I am the director of the Secret Service. It was unacceptable, and it's something that shouldn't happen again.
The president and Homeland Security Secretary said today they had 100% confidence in you, but there are some members of Congress calling on you to resign.
I appreciate the Secretary's comments, and we're going to continue to be transparent and communicate with people.
You plan to stay on, absolutely.
I do plan to stay on.
Yeah, because she's got a lot of work to do. Her job is not done yet, you know. So, all right, that's Cheatle. Now, the rest of the White House is standing by their woman, and they're very excited about supporting her. Karine Jean-Pierre got asked about this from the White House podium. Here is what she said in this clip. Let's listen to Karine.
A couple of things, yes. So the answer is yes, but I do want to say the director is working hard to examine what happened and to ensure protectees have needed security. And she is committed to cooperate fully with the independent review that the president obviously announced and directed to move forward with just a day or so ago. Everything is moving so quickly. The men and women at the Secret Service have a hard job. As you heard the Secretary mention, they work tirelessly every day to protect the president, former presidents, and other people. Their mission is critical, and we need all hands on deck in this moment. Right now, we are focused on getting all the facts so we can get to the bottom of this, of what happened. It is important for the American people to know what happened. That's why the president directed an independent review,
Karine's now trying to disorient you with her jacket so that you don't know what she's saying, because it's like this optical illusion. Like, is Karine even there? You know, those pictures that you used to look at and like the dinosaur would come out? Either that or she's trying out to be the new Riddler in the new Batman movie. I don't know.
Direct an independent review, if that's what the president asked for. Direct the Secret Service to provide Donald Trump and all other protectees the resources needed to ensure safety, and order the Secret Service to review all security measures for the Republican Convention, which is what you've heard directly from the Secret Service speak to in the past 24 hours or so. But yes, he has confidence.
And does he have confidence in Secretary Mayorkss, obviously, since
Yes.
And does the president have plans, or has he spoken with the family of the man who was killed at the rally?
So you heard me at the top, and you heard the president speak in his Oval Address, and one time before that, obviously, and he gave a heartfelt condolences to Corey's family and the families, obviously, who were affected by the horrific shooting on Saturday. And so the president understands loss, obviously, as you all know. He understands what it means to lose someone that you love.
Why? Because his son got brain cancer? Is that where she's going? Okay, not exactly the same thing, but all right. So here is Alejandro Mayorkas, and he's digging in. He's saying, she's doing a great job over there. Homeland Security's great. Not only is our border secure, but we're not even letting presidents actually get shot in the head. You know, it's like, it missed him. So we're doing a good job, you know, here.
Mr. Secretary, you've said that there was a failure here. There's a criminal investigation up and running. What is taking time for the independent investigation to be up and running? And it didn't sound like you were giving a timeline of when that will occur.
We're going to commence the independent review as quickly as possible. We are going to be reaching out very, very shortly to individuals who will hopefully lead that independent review, and I will communicate to those leaders the need for swiftness of action in light of the fact that we are dealing with a security protocol.
But if that's the case, is this like days, weeks? What is your sense of timing of when this review will be up and running, given the security
days?
To follow up on that question, you say an independent review, you're reaching out to people who will lead that. Are you talking about people outside of government? Are you committed to somebody who does not work for you or for President Biden to lead this review?
I am committed to going externally of the department and externally of the government, so that no question of its independence can be raised.
Okay.
Thanks.
That's good.
Secretary, I understand.
If I may, Peter, it's very important that this independent review have the confidence of the people.
Yeah, well, we'll see if it does or not. I don't have any hopes that anything that comes from them will be a fair and independent review. But I do think that Trump should have his team looking at this. I'm sure that they are already. I know he's got private security out the wazoo from his prior life as a billionaire. But it is interesting. So Mayorkss, we have an independent review. Karine is going to continue to talk about political violence, and Biden knows what it's like to lose someone like his son from brain cancer or something. But we've got Congress is now digging into this. So several different letters have been fired out. We've got Comer, who's demanding evidence from the Secret Service. Hawley is demanding the Democrats hold a hearing. And we have Homeland Security Committee in the House of Representatives that's also demanding stuff from Mayorkss as well. And so let's take a look at some of these materials to see what is being done about all of this. The first story is from the Oversight Committee. You can see James Comer and Republicans have now sent a letter to U.S. Secret Service Director Kimberly Cheatle saying we want a ton of information no later than Thursday this week. And let's take a look at the actual letter, because this puppy was signed off on by a ton of people. And so let me stop this and reshare this with our red pen, because we have a nice red pen that is ready to go. And you can see this is the first letter from James Comer. So Comer sent this one over to Kimberly Cheatle, and this was drafted on the 15th, excuse me. It goes to Kimberly Cheatle from James Comer. They want a bunch of information here. You can see signed off on by a lot of different House representatives. James Comer's on the list, Pete Sessions, Pat Fallon, Jim Jordan's on the list, Paul Gosar from Arizona, shout out, Virginia Fox. Look at all these people. So huge slew of congresspeople all signing on the list. We got Paulina Luna's here, Lauren Boebert's in the House, Marjorie Taylor Greene, Tim Burchett, Byron Donald's in the House. What's up? Andy Biggs, Clay Higgins, many others all signing the list, including James Comer. So here's what they want from the Secret Service. They say, all right, this is the Committee on Oversight and Accountability. Dear Kimberly Cheatle, Director of the U.S. Secret Service, says the Committee on Oversight is now investigating the assassination attempt on Trump. We got a need for clarity about how the Secret Service managed their resources and what happened on July 13th, the campaign in Butler, Pennsylvania. And so in anticipation of your appearance before the committee next week, we want information about the assassination. Here's what we want. The Oversight Committee requests the following, and that it be produced no later than this Thursday, July 18th. They say we want a complete list of all law enforcement personnel, including Secret Service, DHS, law enforcement, with roles in protecting Trump on J14. So names, complete list of names, all the people who were involved, everybody. And that's great. I want the entire chain of command. And how did these calls get routed? How does one officer poke his head up, see someone has a rifle, get freaked out, call it in? When did that happen? Who made the call? And what happened to the call? So we need names to compare all of that. We want all audio and video recordings that were in the Secret Service's possession or custody related to Trump's campaign rally. So all of those, right? Who called into you and said that there was a shooter on the roof? We want any memos or notice that were issued by the director to Secret Service personnel. So anything that Kimberly Cheatle drafted and wrote about the assassination of Trump, we want this information no later than July 29th, so start working on it. We also want all documents and communications related to the Secret Service protection, including the pre-site survey that identifies the security concerns and a mitigation of those security concerns, and monthly office protective operations reports. We want all of that. We want internal documents, including text messages, email communications between Secret Service and DHS, all related to the campaign. We want documents and communications, including text messages and email communications between Secret Service related to Trump's campaign in Butler. All communications, text messages among Secret Service personnel and law enforcement personnel, so we're both teams. We want all maps, aerial views, diagrams, and assessments in possession or in custody of the Secret Service. Did they even do anything? Did they have anything? They're like, can you go pull the Trump file? They pull it out. It's like a manila file folder with like 2 sheets in there. That would explain it. All remote surveillance data, including but not limited to drones, listening devices, remote cameras, satellites, all these things used for the rally. And the Secret Service is going to come back. We're not going to give you any of this, okay? These are our sources and methods. These are our methods. And so we're not going to talk about our methods and our internal operations, and you're going to have to send a subpoena. So they're going to tell them to shove it, no doubt. But lastly, we request that you guys preserve all documents related to the rally. And to make arrangements for any of this stuff, call our team. You know, we're the House of Representatives. We have a lot of power to do a lot of stuff. And so get it to us ASAP, Kimberly, Director of the Secret Service. Sincerely, your friends, bunch of people in Congress. So good stuff there. We want to know all of that information. And I can't wait to see how they intend to not provide it. But similarly, we had another letter. This one went out over to Homeland Security. This one is from Mark Green, who is the chairman of what we know as the Homeland Security Committee from the House of Representatives. So he's speaking for the entire body there, Homeland Security team. And he sent this one not over to the Secret Service, but to Homeland Security, Alejandro Mayorkas, same guy responsible for wrecking the border under Joe Biden, says, okay, here, dear Secretary Mayorkss, you're the person in charge of Homeland Security here. And so we have something that we need from you. First of all, yesterday evening, a gunman attempted to assassinate Trump at his presidential rally in Butler, Pennsylvania, and they wounded him right in the ear. The committee is grateful for the swift response of the Secret Service, and we're glad that Trump's not dead, that the shooter was neutralized, though tragically one rally attendee was killed and 2 others have been critically injured. Now, the seriousness of this security failure and this chilling moment in our nation's history cannot be understated. No assassination attempt has come so close to taking the life of a president or a presidential candidate since President Reagan was shot in 1981. Had the bullet's trajectory been even slightly different, the assassination attempt on Trump might have succeeded. Now, as the Secret Service investigates, Homeland Security Committee is now dedicated to conducting rigorous oversight to ensure that the American people receive answers and presidential candidates receive proper and adequate protection. According to the Secret Service, the shooter fired multiple shots toward the stage from an elevated position outside the rally. And this raises serious concerns about how the shooter was able to access the rooftop within the range and the direct line of sight where Trump was speaking. And additionally, some reports also suggest that Homeland rebuffed multiple requests from Trump to increase protective details for this event. And these people are sharing that right here from X. Now, to assist the committee in its oversight, we want to know more about the attempted assassination of Trump. And so give us this information immediately. Saying here is what we need. Documents sufficient to show the security plan to secure the perimeter of the event. How did you intend to secure the perimeter, including areas where the shooter attempted to get on the roof and other areas? I want to know what you guys thought were possible vulnerabilities. All documents, including but not limited to emails, text messages, internal memos, guidance from Homeland, Secret Service, the Executive Office of the President. Was Joe Biden sending any text messages to you guys? Referring or relating to any potential increase or addition of protective resources to President Trump's security details, and documents sufficient to explain the U.S. Secret Service's rules of engagement or protocols to assess or neutralize threats towards a protectee. So this is a critically important item. We heard, initial reporting was that the Secret Service was waiting for permission to authorize to shoot the shooter, which is insane. That they needed to wait for him to open fire first before they could take him out, which is opposite to even the standard law enforcement rules of engagement. They don't have to wait until the robber is actually pumping lead into them before they fire back. So why would the Secret Service? And in particular for assassination attempts, right? Not just regular shootings. Now, documents sufficient to explain the coordination between the Secret Service and the TSA and law enforcement and how they operated to screen the rally attendees, and copies of any and all briefings that were created by DHS or the Secret Service, including talking points. We want to know what Mayorkss was told to say and who wrote it for him, and Director Kimberly Cheatle, and what they used to brief Joe Biden about. What did they tell Joe Biden about, and could he even read it? And additionally, the committee requests the department provide this information on the attempted assassination of Trump no later than July 22nd. Please let us know if you have any questions. Rule 10 of the House of Representatives say we have a ton of power, and so get us what we need. And that is from the Homeland Security Committee for the House of Representatives. So another very nice letter. And there's one more from Josh Hawley. Josh Hawley also sent in a demand from the Senate. And here's what he said. He said, I am formally demanding, and let's remember that Josh Hawley is just a Republican in a Democratic Senate. So he's demanding that they hold a hearing on this, knowing that the Republicans really have no power to do it. But the question will be, do the Democrats want to get to the bottom of this or not? Hawley says, I'm formally demanding a full investigation by the Senate Homeland Security Committee. We just read from the House, but now we're asking about the Senate. July 14th, to the Honorable Gary Peters, the chairman in the Senate, says, okay, yesterday the world witnessed an assassination attempt on Trump, the former president and the presumptive Republican nominee for the presidency. Trump has stated he was shot in the ear, nearly killed. One civilian was killed and murdered, while other two were critically injured. There is no place for this egregious violence in our republic, and these warrant an immediate, comprehensive, and public congressional information. Although we still do not have all the facts, the little that we do know suggests a staggering security failure. Evidently, the shooter was able to gain an elevated position on a rooftop with a clear line of sight on the president, well within accurate range with a firearm. The details of this tragedy must be vigorously investigated by Congress and we're the Senate, including the motive of the shooter and the serious operational failures that occurred. So these matters are within the jurisdiction of the Homeland Security Committee in the Senate, and I call on you, Democrats, to launch a full public comprehensive committee investigation into this assassination attempt and failures to adequately protect the former president. This investigation must include public testimony, public hearings, and robust oversight over the relevant federal departments. We must hear from Alejandro Mayorkss from Homeland and from Kimberly Cheatle from the Secret Service. Nothing should be classified. Nothing should be withheld from the public. Hawley says, our prayers are with the President Trump, the family of the slain American, and the innocent civilians who were injured. We owe it to the victims to get to the bottom of what happened, and the American people deserve answers. And so that is what we see from Congress, a bunch of investigations now taking place from the Senate, from Homeland Security, from House of Representatives, multiple different committees. We'll see if Homeland or the Secret Service ultimately respond, but we'll not hold our breath because we know that they don't respond to anything else that the Republicans want. They are not releasing their Her tapes, and the list goes on and on. And so that is going to be something we'll keep our eye on, my friends. But now let's hear from you. Let's see what you say about all of this. And I saw some very nice donos coming in the house. Oh my goodness. What is all this? I see a nice one from Shananana. Shananana, I think is how I say it. What's up? Okay, so my friends, thank you so much for joining us. It's a beautiful and amazing day. And let's see what you say about all of this. The Trump assassination story continues on. Vinyl says bunch of BS. Yeah, certainly feels like that. But all right, my friends, amazing donos. Thank you for sending these in. My goodness. We have Bobsco, gifted one membo in the house. And we're excited to have our newest membo join us. We did a members only stream this morning. And so if you want some extra content, join us to become a membo. We had a great stream this morning talking about J.D. Vance, talking about Joe Biden's debate with Lester Holt and some other things. Bobsco is bringing in Crystal McNamer, got gifted a membo courtesy of Bobsco. And thank you, Donut, for clipping for us today. This one came in from Shananana in the house. Shanna says, hey, this is Joe, Good Logic's wife, Shanna. I wanted to express my gratitude for what you did Friday. Oh my gosh, you guys are so nice. It's an absolute honor to be hanging with Joe. It made my husband so happy. Thank you for always being there for him. It's nice to know that there are people in this world like you. You guys, you're going to make me blush here 2 days in a row. Thank you for saying that, Shanana. And I know we have not met, but what a nice comment. Thanks for dropping by and saying that on our live stream today, and for the very nice dono. I love your husband. I think he's a great dude, a really good man. I'm really grateful that he's on YouTube. I feel like I'm in good company with him. I'm glad that he's here. So it's absolutely my pleasure, and I'm always happy to help. So really grateful that he's happy about it. You guys are doing great work. And my friends, if you haven't already subscribed to Good Logic, you should, because he has great content over there. And he covers a lot of the same stuff that we cover with a lot more intelligence than we have here, because he's smarter. Hey, Tree Climber says Las Vegas 2017 country music concert. Yeah. The shooting there that we still don't know anything about. Remember, the FBI came in and investigated that, and we got to the bottom of that, right? Now, that single shooter who took out 50 people with a whole hotel room filled with guns and they took a bunch of window panes off. It was nuts. So, yeah, not real optimistic that we're going to get to the bottom of it. Thanks, Street Climber. Snuggle Struggle is in the house. Says, Secret Service had over 2 minutes to remove the threat or to secure Trump. Neither one of those was done. 10 seconds prior to contact, a Secret Service agent was clearing people from behind the podium. You know, I did see that video too. I did see that secret, but I don't know if that was a fight or something. I thought the Secret Service agent was mad at somebody, was moving him, and then the shots. There was weird stuff happening behind that podium. There was weird stuff happening there. Hey, Greg in Houston is a moderator over on Joe's channel. Amazing, Greg in Houston. Good to see you. Yeah, Joe's awesome. He does great work over there. We love Joe. Good to see you, Snuggle Struggle. Lance Uppercut, been a membo for 5 months, almost over halfway to a baby. Says it could be malicious incompetence, which I would put as intentional. If you're just like, hey, we're going to weaponize this incompetence, then that to me is intentional. If it's just actual incompetence, then that's one thing. But if it's somebody saying we're going to just, we're going to put Bill, we're going to put Bill over there in charge of security in that building. Bill, are you serious? That guy has like less brain cells than Joe Biden does, or whatever. Like, we're going to put Joe Biden in charge. That's what it was. I don't want to be disrespectful to the Bills out there, but it's like putting Joe Biden in charge of security for the building. And then when it goes bad, you're like, whoa, it's just incompetent. I can't believe something bad happened. You're like, yeah, you know what happened. All right? You're not going to leave Joe Biden in charge of anything. Sorry, Bill. See, sorry to all the Bills out there. Sorry, Bill, about that. I know, it's a bad name. I didn't pick it. Joe Biden's the better one. We'll just make fun of Joe. Hey, sorry about that, all the Bills. Love you guys. Hey, what's up? Shane Souza says, calm down, calm down. K-Bean is back. And you know K-Bean's going to be on the Off-Label podcast this Thursday. Have you guys subscribed to that one yet? You should. It's going to be great. Thank you, Shane. She's back. We miss K-Bean whenever we miss K-Bean. Hey, Tree Climber says, Secret Service failed us, and they failed Donald Trump. They did. And will there be any repercussions for it? Or will this just be status quo, standard as she goes? No repercussions for anybody. Drew! What's up, Drew? Drew's bringing in 5 new membos. Thank you, Drew. Look who's coming in. Little pauses here. We got Will H. J. Callie Beals is in the house. Cynthia Mulholland's coming in. And CF Martin in the house, courtesy of Drew. Thank you, Drew, for bringing in 5 new membos. Elizabeth Carroll, what a nice dono. Thanks for that. No comment on that, no sticker, but just a nice dono and maybe an emoji. But I don't think so. Thank you, Elizabeth. Thanks for being here and for watching. We got this one from Ian Mack. Became a YouTube membo. What's up, Ian? Thanks for becoming a membo and joining us on the membo streams. We had a great stream this morning. We broke down all of the J.D. Vance stuff and the Biden-Lester Holt interview and some Trump assassination stuff still. We have great morning streams. They're a lot of fun. We got this one from Patriot Rob. What a great name. Says they had 25 minutes to get Secret Service's attention to get the president off the stage. Why was that not done? Because they wanted it to happen. I mean, you could say that they were incompetent, but for 20 minutes, 30 minutes, incompetence is like 5 minutes, not 30. Gretchen, what's up, Gretchen Knockblock? Hey, what's up? Became a YouTube membo. Good to see you, man. We love our membos. We got Elizabeth Carroll membo for 2 months. That's awesome. Second month gets easier. First month's the hardest. It's easier from there. Drew is here. I truly believe it was a deliberate lack of security. So a deliberate lack of security. So opening a window volitionally, intentionally. And I also highly doubt that the CIA or the FBI didn't have the details on this guy. Shout out from down under. Man, our friends in Australia. Good to see you, Drew. Yeah, it's interesting. And this guy had like no social media presence at all. Nobody knows anything about him. It's weird how that happens. Just some name in the ether. Interesting. Sheila P. We got 10 new membos courtesy of Sheila P. Always so generous. Thanks for being here, Sheila. We got Rose B's coming in. Daniel Nordstrom. Leslie E. Jeff W. His servant is here. Michelle C. Archie M. Dan I. Don is in the house. And Dig Mar. Gifted membos courtesy of Sheila P. Thank you, Sheila, for bringing in 10 of our newest amazing membos. This one is from Matt Ostrander. Says, sorry, but the media is adding the issues with how all this happened by showing the shooter on the wrong side of the building. He was on the side closer to the parking lot. So I see what you're saying. And I think that matters, actually, because there was also that tree. There's that series of trees over there. And that matters onto which sniper team took the shot. Because if he was further in, then the tree would have definitely been blocking him. And it would have been that other sniper team that took him out. Maybe that's the third shot. Maybe that's the third weapon. We don't really know. But great comment. Thanks for that one, Matt. This one from Elf. 20 membos. Elf. Oh my gosh. ELF. 20 new membos. I got them all listed here, courtesy of Donut Mind Me clipping for us today. Elf. 20 membos. Listen for your name, my friends. And thank you, Elf, for bringing them in. We got MTS Anonymous, Amber S, Donnie Danko, Bonita Beach, Mike Jones. We got Wendy Blank, American Dreamer, Eek Geek, Dire Gnome, Tony Hargrove, Jeff E, Tina T, Lexi's in the house. We got Blue Bayou, Christine L, Max Deplorable, 2A, Lydia, Yukon Cornelius, Ian Murray, and Milo Hung in the house, courtesy of ELF, bringing in 20 new membos. Thank you, ELF, for doing that, and welcome aboard. 20 new membos. Grab that members only morning stream on the morning. Hey, Ray Ronka's here. Says he is right. Chat won't let me explain. We'll send email with more info and detail. Thanks, Ray. And I know Ray has some experience in the armed services, so thanks for that, Ray. He is right. Chat won't let me explain. We'll send an email with more info and detail. I'll be on the lookout for it, Ray. Thank you for that. We got David D. Says, can't make a comment on here. I tried it on other two. Nothing about the incident. That is the weirdest thing. You guys were saying this yesterday, too. Was it yesterday that you can't say the word treason or something? But then somebody could say the word treason. That is the weirdest thing. You said it yesterday. So I don't know why that is. It's nothing I'm doing. I'm not changing. I haven't changed a thing. But I know YouTube might. Weird. Thank you for that, David D. We got the Midwest Express says, the disgraced former president and the Disgraced Act, the former President Protectees Act, is to strip Secret Service protection from former presidents convicted of a felony. Yeah, the Dems plot. Yeah, that was Benny Thompson. And there was the other woman who's always screaming at everybody in Congress. What's her name? I can't remember. She's just screaming. Everybody's screaming at everybody all the time. It's like, golly. Yeah, they wanted his Secret Service protection stripped so that they can put him in prison, so that they could Epstein him. And they couldn't get that passed because the Republicans are in control, so they just tried to take him out the other way. Salty Vet Dad says, was the 20-year-old actually the trigger man or a distraction? There is a church tower further out. Why did the PD not act? All good questions from Salty Vet Dad. Yeah, I don't know. Was that his real identity? Was he alone? Was he the red herring, the shiny object, but somebody else was acting? Second shooter, third weapon. All great questions. Hey, what's up? Don't Matters here. Love your shows, Rob. Much love from the Netherlands. Shout out to our friends in the Netherlands. Don't Matter. As a membo, saying what's up. Shout out to our friends there. Amazing. Always wild when I hear that. The Netherlands. That's cool. All right, Devin Knox. Witnesses said he bear crawled up the building. Yeah, we saw him doing that he just kind of scooting across. He's like, man, I hope the snipers don't see me up here, but I don't think they even care. So no problem. Amazing. Hey, what's up? Pin King says it was a Demolition Ranch shirt. I know it's another YouTuber, and I don't think that there's any reason to drag him into it, but I know I think was issuing a response on that. It's like, gosh, kind of your worst nightmare, I think. You know, you don't want to be associated with that, but interesting. What's up? Stephen Mosher says, let RFK Jr. lead the investigation. That'd be interesting. Somebody with a lot of experience and dead family members being taken out by assassins. Yeah, here's one. Here's one from Box Lane Productions. Oh, outstanding. Question. What's the difference between this live chat and a rooftop 150 yards away from the president? Well, Secret Service is watching this live chat. But A++ on that one. Just outstanding. They're actually watching this chat because we might be domestic terrorists who are MAGA violent extremists. Amazing. Such a good one. Yeah. Hello to our Secret Service friends and to our FBI friends. Nice to see you guys. Maybe you should go out and learn how to balance. Learn how to walk on a sloped roof, for crying out loud. Go on a hike once in your life. Up a hill. All right, here's Patriot Rob. And because I'm a public official, you as a journalist should definitely not be trying to censor what I'm trying to convey to the public. I'm not doing anything. I'm not trying to censor anything from you, Patriot Rob. Send in whatever you want. Go wild, you know. But it's not me censoring you, you know. Look, we have dinner table manner rules here. So like if you're screaming profanity or something, or you're spamming, like obviously we're not going to allow that. But people are saying that YouTube is censoring words like treason and stuff. That's not us at all. Not doing that at all. Participate in the conversation. I highly encourage it, and I appreciate it. Thanks, Patriot Rob. We got this one from Gwyneth. Oh, I see. So you weren't talking to me on that comment? Oh, okay. So that wasn't me. I see. So it was, and because I'm a public official, you as a journalist should definitely not be trying to censor what I'm trying to convey to the public. I got it. So you were talking like you were Corey Mills. I got it. That makes a lot more sense. So it wasn't a comment to me. It was CNN, don't censor Corey Mills. Got it. Thank you for the clarity on that one. Hey, what's up? Gwyneth R says, has anyone seen that many women on Trump's Secret Service team before who were all fumbling with their holsters? Looks like that they had a new team for the rally. This morning we played that on our members stream. It looked like a bunch of big, tall bros, like built like linebackers. Nobody's coming through here, not playing around, scoping everybody. It looked like the real A-team was there. We saw this one from David D. What's up, David D? Thanks for sending in a dono. Appreciate that one. Sean Higgins says, there was a sus motorcycle left on the scene. BJ Investigates went and interviewed witnesses on her channel, very possibly a second vehicle as well. Second shooter, second vehicle, whole second operation at play. Yikes. Raymond B. What's up, Raymond? Thanks for that. Thanks for sending that one in. We have this one from Saintly Beginnings. Says CNN reported of an Iranian plot to take out Trump. We saw that. Yeah, I'm sure Lindsey Graham will say we should just bomb them immediately. Oh my gosh, they came after Trump, bomb them. Nuke them. We got, what's up, Voice of the People says, amazing 12 hours after September 11, we knew everything. 72 hours later here, we knew nothing. Yeah, a little different, isn't it? 9/11, we found the passports and all that. Very interesting times. Hey, what's up, Max Deplorable? Biden and his staff think that Kim did a great job clearing the path and planning the hit because she had no way of knowing Trump would turn his head. I don't know who Kim is. Somebody on the Secret Service team? Oh, Cheatle. Kimberly Cheatle. Yeah. Yeah, she just calls all the experts. We're going to have a team meeting here today. So I'm going to need everybody on Trump's detail to come in here for a lunch meeting. When's Trump speaking? Lunch. So let's get all the good people here on lunch. Something like that. Hey, One Jump Bob. What's up, One Jump Bob? Thank you for the nice dono. Stephen Mosher says, you can't trust the FBI, the mainstream media, the CIA, perfect to cause chaos. And they all have a history of this. They've all enabled hoaxes. They've all created and manufactured them. And they've all enjoyed and celebrated and salivated over the Trump criminal prosecutions and potential jail. Thrilled that he might go to jail. So why wouldn't they also be a little bit complicit with something like this if they think he's Adolf, like literally a Nazi? All right, here's one. Stan Kittrell, what's up, Stan? Says intentionally and allowing. Didn't something like that happen at the Capitol on January 6th? You see a pattern here? Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I see them failing to secure something intentionally and instigating and exacerbating a bad thing. It's the same exact pattern. In fact. And we know, because we covered the Proud Boys trial and much of the Oath Keepers trial and the Ray Epps saga and the rest of it, that they were responsible for that. They could have secured the building. They didn't want it secured. Why? They did it again right now. This one from Jennifer says, Mark Levin said Cheatle is a friend of Dr. Jill's, not confirmed by the Senate. Is that true? She was not confirmed? That's interesting. Hey, here's one from Box Lane Productions. Says Secret Service increased their security by subscribing to NordVPN using promo code There's a Guy on the Roof. Oh gosh, another one. They did. Secret Service was like, we don't know what to do about this. Just use NordVPN. I don't know if that's an actual promo code or not, but it'd be funny if it was. Thank you, Box Lane. This one, we used to have NordVPN. I don't know if our promo code still works for them, but anyways. Sheila P. We all need to continue to pray. Saturday proved the power of prayer. And I agree with you on that one, Sheila P. And I am hopeful this is the end of the escalatory path that we're on, but we might not be. We got Tasmanaut says Trump's movement occurs at 0.08 seconds before the impact. The round was mid-flight. Someone please analyze and present this. This implies a miracle. I think that's about the only conclusion that you can come to. Coincidence? Okay, fine. Okay. He moved his head like this and saved his entire back brain cortex lobes, whatever they're called. Amazing. What's going on, Tasmanaut? We got Stephen M says, comedy gold. Dude on roof cops in the building. Dude on roof cops in the building. Yeah, I don't know what you're referencing there, Stephen, but it is pretty funny that they can't even balance themselves. So they had to bring out the gymnasts in order to scope the roof. They're like, do we have any gold medal Olympians here? Anybody with some balance beam practice? What do you need me for? We need you to go up on a roof. Oh, like what kind of a roof? You know, it's got like a slope at like 1 degree, 3 degrees. Can you handle that? Yeah, I mean, hopefully they, either that or just like some roofers or something. I don't know. Hey, Chris Kelly says, can't Trump just hire his own private and vetted security? I'm sure he can. I'm sure he does have some of that. But, I mean, the Secret Service is supposed to be the best in the whole world. Apparently not. This one comes in from Chell. What's up, Chelly? Says, Steven Crowder takes PA closed primaries. We know the Dems were being registered as Republican voters, so Republican voters who donated to Act Blue to eliminate Trump. Yeah, and I think what you're referencing, Chelly, is that there's sort of a meme going around that the shooter was a registered Republican at one point, and people are speculating that maybe that was so that he could cross and vote for a Nikki Haley or something like that. There was a lot of that going on in that jurisdiction, and that's also corroborated by the fact that apparently there's also donation registration forms where that same shooter, the name of that shooter, donated to Act Blue, which is a Democratic mega organization. So I think people are trying to figure out what's behind this guy, who he is, what we know about him, and we know basically nothing right now. This one from Tasmanaut says, assuming a muzzle velocity is at 1,000 meters a second, from 130 to 150 meters, the round had 0.13 to 0.15 second travel time. Trump's movement before the first round hits occurs at 0.08 seconds. I have gone frame by frame. Others can do this to prove what I'm saying. From Tasmanaut. 0.08 seconds. So that's like that, like that, like that, like that. Super fast, man. Super fast. So I don't know how else to explain it other than a miracle. Just turns his head and the bullet just hits him right in the ear. Absolutely incredible. And I've seen some super slow-mo recreations of that. In fact, we played one, I think, yesterday. No, the day before. So Sunday night, we played one of those recreations, was like 4x super slow speed. Insane. This one from Stan Kittrell says, an independent review by people outside the government, like Jack Smith. Yeah, I know. He's got some free time on his hand since his case got dismissed in the classified documents case now, and he's outside the government. Or maybe they could call James Comey, or maybe Andy McCabe. Yeah, that's what we're talking about. It's who would it be? Who are they going to appoint? Is it going to be someone from the United Nations or something? Probably. Thanks for that. Good comments, Dan. I think you're right. And he almost had a little smirk on his face, didn't he? He's like, yeah, no, it'll be totally independent. Don't worry about it. Hey, Patriot Rob says, Miss Cheatle, go ahead and include your resignation with that list and all the information that we've asked for. Sincerely, your friends at the House of Representatives. The fact that she's still around and going to just try to limp through this is also amazing. Hey, Eugene Sand says, hey, Rob, great show again. I am going to the hospital tomorrow for major cancer surgery and need some attention from the good Lord. Can you please ask Donald J. Trump to stay indoors for a few days? Thanks. Eugene, we'll see what Trump can do. You know how Trump is. He's just kind of Trump. We'll make the recommendation to him. But, my friend, we're going to send some good love and prayer energy your way. Tomorrow, when you go into the hospital, you're going to have a lot of healing energy and a lot of love from our community right here, beamed into that room. And you're going to have the best team surrounding you with love and support and healing energy. And we can't wait to hear the good news when you come out. Tremendous success, and you're going to be feeling amazing and on the road to recovery. And we're really glad that you are here to share that with us, and we'll be sending some love and prayers your way. Prayers for Eugene Sands and the big day tomorrow. Glad you're getting some help, Eugene, and we can't wait to see you on your return. We got Patriot Rob. Thanks for that one, Patriot Rob. Says, yes, we had that one. Fred Petamonte's in the house. Says, we demand all the text messages from the Secret Service. Yeah, even the ones they deleted back on January 6th. Remember that? Kimberly Cheatle deleted a ton of evidence, or at least the Secret Service did before she came aboard. This one from Stephen M. says no info will be shared or made public, so they'll just tuck it away with all of the other assassination records since the CIA was behind it again. Wouldn't surprise us for a minute. Sheila P. More membos. Thank you, Sheila P. So 10 more people coming in, courtesy of Sheila. We got Melissa's here. Philip Coggins. We got J.L. Dubs in the house. Crescent Fresh. Nailless. Teresa's here. Quantum Bits. Chuck H. Outlaw Monsters Person. And Dan D. Gifted membos, courtesy of Sheila P. with the newest of membos. Stephen M. says, man, that was a strong letter to follow. They're unhappy, man. Congress is furious, as they should be, because this is insane. Jason B. says, 3 names. Yeah, Thomas Matthew Crooks is very typical for CIA asset pseudonyms. Just saying. Yeah, I remember that from that movie called Conspiracy Theory with Mel Gibson and Julia Roberts. I like that movie. And that was an interesting one, right? All the names come out, all the 3 names. And I wonder if that's just to disambiguate. Like, there's probably a ton of Thomas Crooks out there, maybe. But did you guys notice that how weird it is that the people involved in this are called Crooks and Cheatle? Have you noticed that? Crooks and Cheatle. So, like, a crook and a cheater. Weird how that works. It's like weird things that happen. Hey, what's up? Zombie Plan. I don't think it was the kids are saying... I don't think it was the kid that they are saying. I think it was Maxwell Yeerick, someone says. The second guy you mentioned. They scrubbed him off the internet that day. Wild. Yeah. I haven't looked into that name or that individual, but I've seen a lot of people pointing over there. So we'll keep our eye out. Tomorrow V says, it's important that this investigation doesn't turn into a witch hunt or grandstanding. Otherwise, the actual competent Secret Service members go too. That's another interesting take on that tomorrow. Yeah, it's like, well, I don't know. I mean, are they there anymore? I know she was trying to hit certain target quotas, and yeah, I think Trump is handling it. He's giving them a lot of grace, and he's saying they're amazing, right? And maybe they are. Maybe they did save his life. Well, they took the shooter out, that's for sure. So... yeah, I understand what you're saying there, Tomorrow. Thanks for that comment. Voice of the People says, thanks for the shout out. Good to see you, Voice. Have a great stream on Thursday. Third Proverb says, where's Zulu? Good question. I don't know. Shout out to Zulu. We got this one from Superman. Says, the shooter was in a BlackRock ad. Building was owned allegedly by BlackRock. BlackRock has billions to lose when Trump takes over as POTUS. Maybe that's the connection. J-Man is here. Rob, been a sub since Kyle Rittenhouse. That's a long time ago, man. Says, found out some information this morning, having an extremely hard day. Lost my unborn baby this morning. Please pray for me. I have always felt a family vibe from the channel. Well, that's because that's what we are, J-Man. We're trying to create a community here so that when stuff like this happens, we can love you up and support you because, as we often talk about, life is about being in that middle position. I've never lost a child or had to go through that experience, and I don't know what that's like exactly, so it's hard for me to empathize or understand what you're going through other than to say I'm so sorry for your loss, and I'll pray for you and your wife and your family. And I do think that when you're in a community like this, the power of that community is when you're in that middle position, somebody's walked that road ahead of you, so that you can lean on them for help and they can support you. And then when you've gone through an experience like that, as hard and as terrible and as tragic and as hurtful and sad as it is, it's part of life, and that you in that middle position, well, at some point, not now, but in the future, you'll be able to be an ear of support for somebody who's going through that themselves. And so you'll be able to pay it forward in the future. And so I'm so sorry that happened to you, my friend, and I wish you strength and peace and healing energy, and we're going to be praying for you too. J-Man in the house. Thank you for sharing that with us. We'll send prayers your way. Patriot Rob says, yes, name used to be Cowboy Rob. Oh, but after Saturday, I've had a problem sending things as well, such as the word fire. I had to change it to pop. So what is happening? YouTube just rejects, it just says this word is invalid or something? Like this is sense, what is it saying? That is the weirdest thing, because somebody said yesterday it was treason, but then somebody else got the word treason through. And was it fire yesterday? Because obviously fire worked today. So I don't know what, maybe YouTube's just getting wonky out there. Iconic Meerkat, Membo for 3 months, says, loved your interview with Stephen Gardner. You rock. Hey, thanks for that. Yeah, if you guys missed that, go check that out. And send Stephen some love from our channel here. But that was a fun interview. He's a fun guy, sharp guy, and I think he's we had a great conversation. So if you missed that, it was pre-assassination. So a lot has changed since then, but it was a great talk about the immunity decision, really. Hey, what's up, Wayne? Wayne Hodgson in the house. Thank you, Wayne, for sending in a beautiful, cherished dono. I appreciate you. We have Jason Jackson says, can you push the latest updates to the July mind map? Thank you. There aren't many, Jason Jackson, because we've been following things in real time. So like the last couple shows, I have not done mind maps for because it's just been open tabs. I haven't created mind maps because it was so real time. But the Trump assassination mind map is available if you want to poke around on it. So that I can share. And in fact, I'll just do that right now. So if anybody else wants that, you can see what I've been assembling in that mind map. So let me do that right now. I will share this with you right now. Here is the link coming into the chats. So hopefully that is coming across right now. Sending, come on, go ahead, do it. You can do it. There it is. All right. So it's coming across right now if you want to grab that link, and then that's what we went through today. But the prior couple days, I don't think I've had any real mind map creations at all. Hey, thank you for that though, Jason. And thanks for being interested in the mind maps. I love them too. Hey, this is one from Rick. Did a cop really engage with the shooter on the roof and let him because he was threatened? Is this a fact? It's been reported. We just heard it from that other gentleman who said he was told firsthand about it. So I think it's true. Stephen M says the AI is modding the comments. Maybe that's it. Yeah, maybe that's it. Maybe that's what's going on. YouTube's rolling out ChatGPT censor. Hey, we got Wayne says no info. They weren't prepared for the miss. Makes you sick. Thanks, Wayne. Jack Mack says, yeah, we don't know anything after 72 hours because they're still trying to figure out how to come up with the answer to conceal the facts. Everybody's getting their story straight. Good to see you, Jack. Hopefully we get something, or this just disappears like the Vegas case. Thanks, Jack. We got this one from Philo T. Farnsworth. Says, somebody check the grassy knoll. Definitely someone over there. Was Liz Cheney involved in this? I don't know. Revco says, former deputy sheriff here, I've never seen any department policy that requires you to wait for them to eliminate you before you can eliminate them back. Yeah, I don't think I have either, Revco. The only policy that was that stupid was the Afghanistan and the Iraq policies, where our soldiers had to be shot before they could shoot back. That was the rule of engagement there. And that's why we were there forever with nothing accomplished, because we were just getting there, just getting our soldiers shot at, essentially. Which is what they want. They want a never-ending, indefinite war. So it's very interesting that the Secret Service has to wait until their protectee is shot until they fire back. Is that what? And it takes 30 minutes because they wanted to get their pizza delivered first. Well, someone's on the roof? Like, when did he get there? My DoorDash is going to be here in 15 minutes. So it's like, is he doing anything, or do I have time to eat? Then can I go? Yeah, it's fine. Eat it up. What'd you get? Yeah, I'll see you over there too. 30 minutes for their delivery to arrive. Or whatever. I don't know what's going on. But it sounds like it's intentional. So, my friends, thank you for sending all of those amazing donos in. We had some amazing donos come in on Locals. Our friends over on Locals as well are incredible. We'd love it if you came over and joined us on the Locals platform, because we have an amazing community there. And let's see who is joining us on Locals and take a look at some of these amazing tips that have come in. This one is from Glocky. He says, the media, the Democrats, the rhinos, and the feds colluded with a foreign nation called Ukraine to try and overthrow Trump's presidency twice. You really believe they wouldn't collude with a nation like Iran to get rid of Trump? Says, you should take a look at the warning that the government released today about Iran plotting to unalive Trump. We hit that on the show today, Glocky. Good call. Former says, more food for thought. Why wasn't former and future POTUS Trump security detail staffed with short people? I mean, no disrespect to the short people. I don't know, good question. Glocky says, good news today, though. Project 2025 is already happening. Let's go, people, from Glocky. Says the Democrats and their media are making a modern-day Caesar. I don't think they're prepared for the wrath of what happens if something happens to Trump. Says, regardless of what did or didn't happen, the agents on the security detail came off looking weak and incompetent, hurt their image and their pride. So they're going to be looking to bring back their tough image. So word of advice to people, don't go to any Secret Service protectee rallies. They're looking for an excuse to show how dangerous they really are. Chubby says, of course the FBI is saying it's a lone gunman. If one of their assets is still alive, they don't want anyone looking for them before they can make them disappear and leave no trail back to the feds. Jack Max on Local says, have you seen the images of the bullet hole through Trump's jacket on his chest? I've seen that in a couple of places, but heard very little about it in the mainstream. Was that real? I've seen the image too, but I haven't found any corroboration on that, other than just the image. Glocky's sharing a link over to Breitbart. Former LEO says, I would like to point out the Biden administration purged our security agencies of radical right-wing extremists, in quotes, also knowing that Republicans and replace them with radical left-wing extremists. Just take a look at the people who are tasked with shielding Trump. Jack says, I'm frustrated. YouTube is blocking me. I've never had that issue before. Having said that, what I'm trying to say is listening to these witnesses. It's reminiscent of 63. Are we really at that point? If multiple shooters, why are we hearing from social media and not our government? Willful negligence indeed. 30 long minutes. It makes me sick to my stomach. 30 minutes. Because he had to finish clipping his nails, you know, clipping them away. Former LEO says, is there any merit to the report that the Secret Service people got assigned from Trump to cover jail? I think they have rebutted that officially. The spokesperson has said no. And we also read the article that they increased security in the aftermath of the Iran attack, apparently. But that's all I know. Chubby says, it's also pretty interesting that the American flag thing, the stage was only fastened at one end, almost as if a sniper team could use it to gauge the wind for the shot. Nah, that can't be. So you have a wind back there, just like a wind flag. My gosh. Hey, Tanya's here. What a nice dono, Tanya. Thanks for the big dono. Says, happy Taco Tuesday, all. Miss the food days. Back soon. We haven't seen you in a while, Tanya. I noticed that. I notice when you guys don't come around. I notice when I miss you. What the heck? But you're back. It's good to see you. And thank you for sending in a very nice tip. Tanya always comes by and says Happy Taco Tuesday, which of course is today. And we missed her, and so she's back here with force. Thanks, Tanya. We'll see you back here when you can make it. Thanks for joining us. Chubby says, Karine's jacket marks her as hard to spot. Oh, she's trying to blend in so nobody notices her. That's what Karine's jacket was? And it makes her hard to spot up there as a lone shooter. Oh, I see. With a rifle on a giant white industrial roof. So maybe it was Karine up there, and that's what that jacket was? It was like camouflage? Rick D says, she means Uncle Bosie that got eaten by the cannibals. Yeah, Uncle Biden. Biden got eaten by cannibals by somebody. Chubby says, who wants to put money down that the outside investigators will be BlackRock? Good question. The Rubos, you know them from RubosSaltShop.com, says, the overcomer, the victor, as Trump says, saved by grace by the hand of God, the works of the Lord are great. Psalm 111:2 from the Rubos. Man, great prayers. Lovin' the Crake says, I would hope that President Trump would be asked to attend the funeral for the fallen firefighter supporter and not as a public event. I think he has already asked that. I think that is already in motion. Rub some dirt on it says, if the local police peeked on the roof and the shooter turned a rifle on them, if they started shooting at the shooter, the Secret Service could not claim they didn't have comms with the locals. Everyone would have reacted to the fire. Also, The Secret Service counter snipers may have had to deal with the expectation that the silhouette on the roof might have been police, since they knew that the building was being used to stage police. Yeah, that I can understand, right? That I can understand them not wanting to shoot one of their own guys. Is that one of ours? No? Okay, well, who is it? Don't know. Okay, well, he's got a rifle. Can I take him out? Can we get somebody on the roof? Give me 30 minutes and I'll let you know. Okay, cool. I guess I'll just hang here till he sets up and shoots. All right. So, yeah, but I understand that. Like, you don't want to take out your own sniper. And I don't think he looked like a sniper, but who knows. Boopsy says, Rob, can you please watch or show the video link John McGarvey posted in this thread? Very curious. Probably not today. DeHook says, here's the slope of the dangerous roof. This should be fun when she's questioned by the committee. Sniper was on a 4.76-inch pitch roof. Secret Service snipers were on the 14-inch roof. Words Mean Thing says, wait a minute. Nancy Pelosi called for Chief Sun's resignation immediately after J6, and he resigned. Anybody notice a difference here? Anybody notice a difference here? Same type of thing. Cover up after they instigate it. Lady Ice says, shooting near RNC's, 1 dead. We have tornadoes and storms take out power. So very sketchy service here in CNY. DeHook says, here's a video of Thomas Crooks saying he hates Republicans and hates Trump, but they got the wrong guy. Looks like him, but who knows, from DeHook. Lady Ice is talking about a dangerous page. Got this message when I tried to go to the RNC. Also, an interesting post there from Lady Ice. So I don't know what's going on over there, Lady Ice, but hopefully you get it working. And so, my beautiful friends, that is what we've got cooking over on Locals. We'd love it if you joined us on Locals. We have a great members-only community over there, and we have a lot of fun. We also have our friends on X. Let's say what's up to some friends on X. We have this one from Fred Petamonte says, I dare anyone to show me a 20-year-old with a zero social media footprint that was in a BlackRock commercial. Great reporting, says Richard. Danny says, this has the same smell as JFK. 5x5 on X. Glocky says, here's the Secret Service missing the most obvious sniper in history. And here's the drunk MAGA fan spotting him and giving his cops his location. And of course, that is a fun meme. So we got other comments. Cher Coates is here. Retired Dave. Salty Sarge. What's up? The Magic Eye. Yes. Bunch of good stuff over there. Phil Reno says, my worst fear is this a setup. This is a setup to go after Biden and blame it on retaliation. I know, Phil. That thought has crossed my mind too. They just now they just say, Trump's people are responding, and they instigate something and they blame it on the right, and they change the whole narrative overnight. So, all right, my friends, that is going to be it for us on the day. We've had a beautiful stream here today. Very grateful to have everybody join us in the house. And the plan is we're going to come back here tomorrow to get into it all again. And in order to do that, we're going to need to see you right back here so that together, with your help, we can shine that big, beautiful spotlight of accountability and transparency down upon our system with the hope of finding justice. Make it a beautiful night, my friends. Sleep very well. I'll see you right back here tomorrow. Bye-bye.